is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
Today, we are joined by the lovely, talented, super smart, super funny Ashley Williams. We asked her here because we really wanted to talk small town setup. And then as I was sitting down to make my notes, I was like, wait, I want to talk about this and I want to talk about this. So we're going to go as fast as we can to get through as much.
Rush. Listen, I'm unemployed currently, so take it away. Let's go to town.
Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. I feel like, did you guys reach out to me on Instagram or something?
We did.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. What's Thursday like? Done.
Yeah, that's our MO. A lot of people go through more official channels. We're like, it's working for us.
That's so my vibe. Like, I am my own publicist. Yeah.
So let's talk small town setup. For listeners who might not be familiar, all 6 episodes are currently available on Hallmark Plus. And the premise is kind of like a Hallmark movie goes reality show, right? Like big city single goes home to find love. So we know you were super involved. Obviously, you host it, but you were involved in the creation of the show. Can you tell us how it came about?
Yeah, totally. Well, so the show is actually based on a really popular Israeli dating show called Dear Neighbor. And, you know, it's a little bit of a like Fiddler on the Roof story, right? So it's basically parents wanting their children to find love and be happy. And so we took the best, our favorite parts of that. And Keshet actually found the show, an Israeli-based production company. And coincidentally, when I first heard that Hallmark was going to be doing Unscripted, I came clean about my obsession with Kelly Ripa and my confession that I have always secretly wanted to be a host. And so I called David Stefano. When I say called, that's not exactly accurate. I stalked him and began profusely pitching unscripted show ideas to him. And I didn't just call his cell and like throw out the ideas. Like I made Canva packets.
Pitch decks.
I made multiple decks. I pitched him 9 unscripted shows. And by the way, if you want to hear those unscripted show ideas, they are hilarious.
I can only imagine.
Passed on every single one.
Oh no!
But right around that time, Keshet had approached him about this idea of a dating show. And so he called me and he said, all right. We're not doing, the 9 ideas you pitched me, but do you want to host a dating show? And when he was halfway through the question, I screamed, yes, please. So yeah, I mean, what I love about the show is that it's not just about finding love. It really does a great job of wrapping in the family elements, which we're all too familiar with. Who we marry is, it's a little bit the person and it's a lot bit the family. So this is really a show about parents and families trying to find love for their grown-up kids. And it was the most, first of all, hilarious time of my life shooting this show. I mean, just so often I would be like standing in front of a town hall full of community members and just be like, I am hosting a dating show right now, and this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever done in my entire life. It was so fun. It was just the most fun.
Now they shot that in Georgia, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
What's the time frame there? Like, was this over like a month? 6 weeks?
Each episode is a week. So yeah, so I meet with the parents. And then I meet with the town, like an entire small town where we have like an open forum for everybody who knows this girl or guy. And we get to know her. And we just talk about her behind her back, and and we talk about, you know, what her personality is like, what her interests are, what her value system is, etc. And basically, the town nominates single people that they know in the town. And then the parents get to go meet with those people. And then we set her up on 3 blind dates. And then we watch the dates live. And then she basically tells us who she wants to go on a second date with. It's the silliest, most fun time ever.
It is fun. I watched all 6 episodes of the
Oh,
weekend
you
it came out.
did?
Yes, I did. Of course I did. I'm a fan.
I have questions for you.
I love reality TV, so this was like so up my alley. I had to wonder though, because I've watched a lot of reality TV. The singles, by the time we meet them on the show, I mean, obviously they're aware something's going on. Did you get any pushback from anybody who was like, no, I don't want to be involved in this?
Well, so this is something that we actually went back and forth a lot about which aspects of the story to tell to the audience. And what the singletons were told was, do you want to go be on a dating show? Because this dating show, and then they say yes, and they would volunteer for the dating show, and then they would say the dating show is interested in you and they want to interview you.
Oh.
So they don't know yet that they have been chosen to be on the dating show already. So we have buy-in from the singletons, but they don't know that they're going to be on the actual show. They just think that they're being interviewed. But you're right, that aspect, that piece of information is not communicated on the show.
And they don't know that their families and communities are so heavily involved in the
Correct.
choosing of their suitors either.
Correct.
Yeah, because you could see, you'd be like, sure, I'm interested in dating, but I have absolutely no interest in my mom being my lead matchmaker. Now, for me, like, we're old, right? Like, we've both been married for a million years. So I'm like, I can see the value in somebody outside of me who knows me really well showing up and being like, I know what you think you need, but we know what you actually need. And we're going to step in because you haven't been doing this very well yourself.
Exactly. And I feel like, you know, it was reminiscent, like everybody's childhood was different, but the people who are on our show, the families are so strong. And it's not always, you know, a conventional family dynamic. Like we have one widow and her son who want to set up their single daughter. And we have divorced parents who got remarried, and all 4 of them are trying to set up their son. You know, it's not all conventional, but what is consistent throughout each episode is the commitment to and the love that, you know, only parents and only family members can really speak to about their single kid. And a lot of the questions we ask is like, what kind of child was this? You know, was he shy? Was he outgoing? What were his values when he was a kid, as opposed to who did you think he was going to marry when he was younger? You know, and now what's his type? And having that input from the family members honestly changed my opinion. And thank God, by the way, like you're just like me. I've been married for 20 years. I cannot even remotely imagine what it would be like to be dating right now online. I'm so glad I missed that, you know, aspect of dating now. But this show really brings back the sort of old school, like, who am I? Who was I as a kid? What are my values? And ultimately, what are my goals for the future? Do I want a family? Which right now, when you go on a dating app, you're not always saying, you know, yes, I want children. Yes, I want somebody who actually is financially stable. Like, those are icky conversations to have on a date or to put on your dating profile. But we go there on the show, you know, like, hey, would you be okay traveling a lot? Are you okay with the fact that, like, you know, he doesn't like to be, he's not a planner, you know, like we went right to those conversations that often when you're dating online, you don't get to for 6 months to a year or until you're already married and you're like, uh-oh. You know?
Yeah. So one of the things in watching it, I found myself dying to know more about the couples because we're left with like, okay, this is who I choose to pursue something further with. I assume there's not like a Where Are They Now episode planned, because we would watch the heck out of that.
Yeah, we talked about doing like a reunion episode.
Yeah.
I think because it's on a streaming platform and stuff, we're still trying to figure out like are people watching the show? Like what's happening? Are you interested? And that is, I keep hearing like we would love to do a follow-up episode.
Yes.
I do know from just some sort of like brief conversations with the single people who've been on the show that it completely transformed how they date. Which I was proud of. I was like,
Yeah, of course.
And, what I kept hearing is like, I'm going to be more upfront about, who I am as, a dating person from now on, et cetera. But I don't have the information for you the way that I would like to right now. Like, I would love to be like, oh my gosh, Victoria and Michael are getting married. I don't have that information for you right now, frankly, because I haven't talked to Victoria. Like, I don't know, it's
Sure.
we're like, we're going to put it on the streaming platform and see what happens. So with enough positive response, I'm sure, we would go and do some digging and find out what's going on. But I don't know.
Maybe if like season 2 gets picked up, you can start like with a recap. Where are they now?
I know we were saying at like the end of the episode, was it this show I was saying it about? I think so, where we wanted like the overlay, like where you get on Real Housewives of like what's happened since like this stopped filming and like present day. Like that's what I wanted, like the freeze frame.
Idea. That's a great idea. I mean, it's one of the cool things about being a producer on the show is I can pitch things like that,
Yeah, I mean, we heard it in our Facebook group too. People were like, wait, we want to know more. Like what? Now I'm invested in these people.
Yeah.
And like, did Sosa come back and shoot his shot even though he wasn't the one she chose? Because I know like people at home were like, wait a minute, it should have been Sosa.
Yeah.
By the way, I thought it was, and I got a little video message from Brad Paisley the night that the show dropped. He sent me a video message that was like, she's crazy. That she like, what is wrong with her? Like, America should be furious.
Right? Like the chemistry was like coming off the screen with those
100%.
two.
And I have to tell you, that day when I didn't know who she was going to pick, because they don't tell me. The producers know because they have to get in touch with the guy or the girl. But I didn't know. And I was shocked. I thought it was going to be Sosa. And afterwards, I went up to the producer and I'm like, can we get Sosa's phone number and just stick it in her back pocket just in case? Like, because this guy, like, I would have dated Sosa.
Yeah, well, they just seemed like such a good match. So yeah, so fun.
The food and the
Yes.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I
that's
loved
the stuff that you like don't really think about, like the little ways in which you connect with people.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's
Thanks
a
for
great
watching
show.
the show. I appreciate it. You guys.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Super
Yeah,
fun.
we were a little surprised that they dropped all the episodes at one time. Some part of me really enjoys that because I love to like binge out and watch all the things at one time. So I was happy that they did that.
I think there's pluses and minuses. Like we've talked about, when you draw something out over the 6 episodes, like it creates appointment television. It creates this like shared experience of like they're coming out one at a time. And so you can talk as opposed to them all coming out at once. And then not everybody's on the same page. I think there's advantages to both.
Mm-hmm.
I was just gonna say, like, I think you could have gone either way. They definitely drew it out with Finding Mr. Christmas, which was so fun. But I also think like Hallmark is now really embracing the streaming idea.
Mm-hmm.
And dropping all the episodes at once is in keeping with that.
Sure.
It's like, I want it to be on Netflix. I want everything to be available all at once so that people can go at their own pace, but that there's a lot of content that is really satisfying to put on and let it roll out. And I'm into that model personally, but maybe that's just because I'm not as much like a cable person anymore.
Yeah. The only part of me that's like, I don't want it is like us as people who cover it. I'm like, wait, don't drop 10 episodes at once. Please don't drop them all at once. But as a viewer, I'm like, yeah, of course I want it all. Like, don't make me wait another week to find out what's going to happen on this show. Switching gears.
Oh, man.
Can we talk Make Her Mark really quickly?
Yes.
First of all, we're Crystal Lowe's biggest fans, so we're so thrilled that she was.
are?
Oh my
We
god,
love her.
Love
She's
her.
amazing. She's such a great human. Love her.
She's been on the podcast
You know, like,
twice.
how I found her?
Tell
Tell
us.
us.
Oh my God. So we were at like this convention in Florida, this Rama Drama convention, and we ended up sharing a van together. And it was right when I had been given the green light to go try to find some women to go through the program. And she was like, well, and I'm a director and da da da. And I was like, you are? Tell me more, And we ended up having this great talk. And then like halfway through the van ride, I got really emotional because I was in the middle of a renovation and I was so scared about it. And she was like, I'm sending my husband over to your house. He's a contractor. And I was like, who is this very kind person? And then I said, let's go for like a little hike, right? So we meet up. It's like 8:10 in the morning. Okay, neither one of us have brushed our teeth. We've just dropped our kids off. We're like 5 minutes from both of our houses. We live very close. And she has her 2-year-old with her. And she's got him, he's sitting on this picnic table in the parking lot. And she's just leaning over and just nursing him, right? This girl is amazing.
Awesome.
And then she's like, hey, and she like throws him behind her on this like pack and hikes up the entire mountain talking about everything that she's writing, directing, program she's applying to, who she wants to be as a filmmaker. And like halfway through, I was like, you're, and I say to this day, I'm like, she's my greatest discovery. Like, because I plucked her. I mean, she's by the way, such an amazing actress too. But also like people didn't understand that she's like a real filmmaker. So I put her through the program, and she's now directed 3 different movies for Hallmark, and has more coming down the pike. And it's not just that. Like I think it was like January 2nd of this year, she sent me a text message that just said, hey, I have a couple of hours free today. Do you need help with anything?
Oh, she's awesome. She's
on.
amazing.
Of course, I was
her.
like, do you need my Christmas cards? No. I did cross my mind. I'm like, can I make you some tea and we'll do my Christmas cards? But I didn't. I'm not going to take advantage of her. But she's just the kindest, nicest, and by the way, absolutely brilliant women. She's wonderful.
Yeah, we discovered her because we did a Signed, Sealed, Delivered deep dive last summer on the podcast. And so, that's kind of was our like origin story. And we've had her on since to discuss like her Christmas movie. And she's so smart. She's so fun. And I think the biggest shock for me, this is going to sound so stupid, but like she is so Rita on Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Like she is so that character. And then you meet her and you're like, wow, that's not who you are at all. Like, you're acting.
Yeah, totally.
You're a great actor. Yeah, she's so fabulous. I love her so much.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Thank you. I'm glad you agree.
So what's happening with the program right now?
So what we did was, I raised my hand and said, because honestly, the majority of the people that have gone through the program so far are plucked by me. It's through who who your agent is, who you know at Hallmark. And then we do an interview process and all this stuff. And so we have this like little incredible collection of women. 2 of them we're waiting for 2 of them one of them is shadowing now. 2 of them have already shadowed. And so those 2 are about to direct their first movie. Wow. We've got 1 shadowing. And then I said, it's just, we're not a diversity and inclusion program if it's who like it's just not. We have to open up applications globally. And they totally agreed. I mean, this executive team that I work with at Hallmark is so smart. They really understand my philosophy and respect it and are working with me, which I really appreciate. So they said, yeah, let's open up applications. So we opened up applications wide in the spring. We got 390 applications, and it was overwhelming, not just because of the number, but because of the caliber of applicant. So it just is like further evidence, like women, especially creative women, are just so capable, so responsible, so on it, so women are doers and also have strategy. And anyway, I was absolutely blown away. These are women who are DPs. They've gone to film school. They've been directing for 15 years. They have 3 children. They are taking care of their mothers and they have full-time jobs. But also on weekends, they're shooting short films that communicate an aspect of their storytelling and their voice that they're not able to express in other ways. Like, these are our people. And they should be behind the camera making Hallmark movies. So it took me a while to get through those applications. We have it now narrowed down to 20 applicants right now. And we're actually meeting on Friday to figure out the next steps with those. But we're going to announce basically in the next couple of months 2 more rounds of Make Her Mark group, which is 6 people. 6 women are going to go through the program. And then I've got a little bit of scholarship money that I can give out. So we're just trying to figure out where best for that to go, et cetera. So that's where it is.
You know what? I would love a reality show about
Yes.
this process. Would be
I
amazing.
pitched that show.
It would be so wild to watch. I would love
Yeah,
that.
people love the behind the scenes stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have to tell you, it's a challenge. Running this program is hard. It's there aren't quite enough resources. It's a lot of the time it's just me. I have honestly been relying on Crystal. Hey, will you watch the short film? Tell me what you thought. Because each application is an essay, a resume, a letter of recommendation, 3 work samples, and it's each application probably takes an hour to go through in a responsible way. So a lot of the reality show would just be me bending over the computer like this,
Stop.
trying to be like, oh God, okay.
It would all come together. I mean, are you familiar with that show? I don't HBO's Project Greenlight. They did like a reality behind the scenes like years ago. I don't know.
I literally want to bring up the deck of pitching the Make Her Mark behind the scenes documentary, which was formatted on Project Greenlight. Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah.
And listen, you got a person right here who would watch it, so there is an audience for it.
Yeah,
So
the timeline is so long. Like, what people don't understand about Unscripted is like, you hire a film crew, you need to fill a day. So like, it would be me recording on my phone 95% of the time, and then what am I putting like a mic on the people that I'm interviewing over the phone while I'm, by the way, like walking my dog in the neighborhood and being like, tell me who your favorite filmmakers are. Like, that's the reality of me running this program. Is it's like 2 a.m. and I can't sleep and I'm watching short films.
Oh
and
my gosh.
yesterday for 3 straight hours, I just walked my dog in my Uggs interviewing women.
Oh my god.
But that's like the spirit of the whole thing, right? Is like all these women are doing so many things.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm like always folding laundry while I'm doing these interviews or watching, I'm cooking. I'm in the middle of one meeting while I'm responding to text messages of women that I'm like, I owe answers to, it's, I'm like hiding in my child's bunk bed, doing Make Her Mark meetings. Women are incredible, and it's why we make such good directors, because we know so many different aspects of life. We don't just go to an office. I mean, historically, to get our jobs done, we do our jobs.
Damn.
Do you have any, I mean, I know you have a few directing credits yourself. Do you have any aspirations to be directing on Hallmark yourself? Or are you having more fun like making it happen for other women?
I'm actually not allowed to talk about it, but I just directed an episode of an ABC show. I'm not allowed to announce that. February 4th, I can announce that, but I can talk more about that. But I'm really looking to break into episodic television in a big way. And I love making Hallmark movies. It is a dream come true. I was offered a Hallmark movie to direct last year. And if I'm honest, it was right when my littlest was going through like a really intense time at school, and it did not make sense for me to leave town for 7 weeks. So I respectfully said, please put a pin in this and please offer me more in the future, but I can't do this right now. And it was the right choice. I would love to direct for Hallmark. I am a massive Chicken Sisters fan. I would love to direct an episode or two of that show. But yeah, episodic is really where I'm setting my sights right now as a director.
Talking about episodic television, if we can throw it way back to your How I Met Your Mother appearance.
Yeah.
We had a member of our Facebook group was like, wait, I need to know, did you ever wonder if Victoria was the mother, or were you like, this is a gigantic red herring, it's too early?
I mean, I'm so glad you asked this. Because you guys, so, it was a TV show that was on the bubble for the first couple of years. And every time the show almost got canceled, I got a call saying, they're going to make you the mother if the show gets canceled. Are you available? Blah, blah, blah. And then the show would get picked up and I wouldn't be the mother. Right?
Oh my gosh.
So basically, like, I kept being like, I think I'm going to be the mother on this show. Like, this is, for years.
Uh-huh.
And then that stopped happening when the show became a hit. And then at one point they were having an issue with contracts. And I got another call saying, all right, the contracts aren't going to, if we have to, end the show in one episode, you're going to be the mother. And this is like 10 years in. And at the 11th hour, the contracts were all signed. And then suddenly, like a month later, I found out that the mother was going to be the person that played the mother, who, by the way, I'm a huge fan of, and I can't remember her name right now, but I saw her.
Christina Milioti.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I saw her in Once on Broadway. And
yes, that's how I know her too.
Incredible. I was like, oh yeah, she should be the mother. She's amazing. But
yeah, I know, but that Victoria character, I mean, I have issues with the way the whole show wrapped up with the like, just kidding of it all at the end. But I got to tell you, I was rooting for Victoria too. And that's long before I was like an Ashley Williams fan to be, you know what I mean?
May I just say, would have been so good for my career if I'd been there. But there's this, like, I have this thing where I'm like, well, would I rather have been the mother and have people go, no, I didn't like Victoria? Or would I have rather been the one that's like, I wish you'd been the mother, which
The one
I
that got
hear,
away.
I'm not kidding you, every day. Like, I'm walking down the street and people are like, you should have been the mother. And I'm like, call my agent and tell them.
Wow.
And I kind of feel like this is the sweeter road in a lot of ways.
Sure. Yeah. The one that got away.
Yeah, like what
Wow.
could have been, You're
super active. We're jumping all over the place. I'm sorry. With the Alzheimer's Association.
Oh, yeah.
Can we expect another Dance to End Alzheimer's this year?
We're guys, nonprofit work is
I know. I used to do
so
that.
hard. Yeah, it's so hard. It's so much. I would love to. In order for that event to happen, so many factors come in that have nothing to do with me. And it's about people coming forward early and saying, we will help you. Last year, leading up to the dance party, I said, I'm never doing this again. This is exhausting, and I have nothing left. And then the day of the dance party, I ran around jumping in people's arms the entire day and saying, this is the best day of my whole life. I want to do this twice a year for the next 30 years. It's such a complicated thing because the amount of work, like sheer just blood, sweat, tears, grit that goes into, like, it's truly like a from the ground up grassroots. Like, it's just me, Andrew Walker, and Nikki, like in my living room practicing choreography. Like,
Oh my gosh.
it's, I ordered costumes on Amazon. Like, I'm doing everything, So, there's part of me that feels like maybe we'll take a year off and come back really big and strong next year. I also don't know if we can do it in the fall again because I don't know if you've noticed, but Hallmark goes so hardcore.
Oh my gosh.
It was not like this a couple of years ago.
No, we need to talk about all of that because I don't know how most of you are still standing with the amount of promo work that they had you doing this year.
I mean, they invited me to go to Countdown to Christmas, the Jingle Stop tour, and I was like, I literally am gonna cry if I have to go on another 5-day trip. Like, I can't.
You're like, I'm gonna get on a boat with y'all in a week. Let me breathe.
Yeah, and I also had because by the way, we're also working. Like, I also
Yeah.
I directed that episode in November. And I was taking prep meetings on the cruise boat. I landed, I went straight into prep on a episode of television I was directing, and then handed in my episode, and 2 days later went to Kansas City. I mean, it's like Nikki told me that this fall she was home 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's bananas for you guys during like the holiday season. You're just not
You got
there.
kids at home, and families were like,
flagged
"Hi."
it, like, in August, I flagged it for my husband, and I'm like, I'm looking at the calendar between September and December. Like, I'm traveling so much. And I was like, we should get our Christmas cards done now. And he was like, you're crazy. By the way, Christmas cards are still not done. Today is January 22nd. They're in a box in my kitchen. I should be doing them right now while I do this interview with you. Like, I sent out like 20, and everyone's like, cute Christmas card. And I'm like, don't tell anyone, because they're going to be on my list. But, it's so funny.
You're better than I am, because I'd be like, well, I guess it's over. Bye. Like, toss them,
That's my
recycle
husband. I'm
them.
like, why don't we go digital? And he was like, because we're not giving up. He's like, we don't surrender.
Let's jump into all those fan events really quickly if we can. So the cruise. We were there. We
were on the
cruise-
first
we
one.
were on sail
Yeah.
one. For us, it's like Beatlemania with some of these actors. We've said it before. It was a little much, like the way some people treated you guys on the boat. I was like, we can be cool, right? What was your experience like just existing on the ship? Like, did you feel like you could move freely? Did you feel like I don't know.
There's been a kind of interesting little sea change for me as a Hallmark actor. Like, the trajectory was, in the beginning, I took my first Hallmark job because it was 3 weeks and I needed the money. This was 10 years ago. And I thought it was like cute, I did this movie called October Kiss, and it was fun. It was sort of harmless. It felt harmless.
Mhm.
It felt like a good little stopgap in between, network television. And then I would do a couple every year. And then it wasn't until I went to Christmas Con the first time that I was like, oh, there's like a whole really interesting demographic of people that watch these movies. And they're not all my Aunt Diana and my Aunt Nancy. Like, they're my peers.
Yeah.
And they're not just like the three of us. They're network executives.
Mhm.
They're like the head of Warner Brothers is a massive Hallmark fan. They're legitimate professionals who see Hallmark as a genre just like any other,
Mhm.
and are truly entertained, and also, sort of need it, and that kind of came after. Like, at first it was entertaining, and I think people were watching the movies ironically. And then they realized, I think especially when everything got really complicated politically in our country and the pandemic, these movies started to be a balm for people to solve. It's something that I would never have anticipated, because I'm much more of like, I like Oscar movies, and I like, like kind of more gritty television. And I gotta say, I am thoroughly enjoying watching my Hallmark movies these days. And I was never that person before. Like, my dad's a journalist, I grew up in New York. Like, I'm a little more of like hard edges. So then one of the first change that happened was I did a movie called Two Tickets to Paradise, and my network executive on the show, on the movie, hired a director named Dustin Reichert, who has a really similar sense of humor to me. And we went to Hawaii, and we were shooting this movie, and I am naturally very improvisational actor. Now, I would say 90% of the jokes that I improvise in Hallmark movies get cut, and it's kind of a joke for me. Like, I say inappropriate things. I am really interested in making the editor laugh. I swear like a sailor. I am not a typical Hallmark girl at all. But Dustin Reichert basically kept 98% of my jokes on that movie. And for the very first time, I watched the movie and was like, this character feels like an authentic version of me, which I had never really been able to play before in a Hallmark movie. And it changed things for me because I started to really pour my heart into the movies because it no longer felt like a color by numbers job, a stopgap in between my real job, my day job. It wasn't my day job anymore. It was an opportunity for me to storytell authentically. And when I started to go to these Christmas con events and communicate with fans and grill them about what movies they liked of mine, what they didn't. And those people are honest. I mean,
They sure are.
I had this woman look me right in the face and go, "You're very annoying." And I was like, "Great. Where have I been the most annoying? Like, I want to know, like, tell me, And I've learned so much from those fan events. And so when I went on the cruise, I felt much more sort of understood as a Hallmark actress, especially because like the first time I went to Christmas Con, etc., I had been, performing in a way that felt like a day job to me. Mm-hmm. But once I started to really invest in the work, I now feel authentic to myself. So when I am on something like the cruise, I was able to really let my freak flag fly. And the more I do that, the more my little niche of the Hallmark audience can find me. And that's where I started really having fun. So the cruise was just a further example of, like, watch Christopher Palaha and myself get wasted in 45 minutes on 6 drinks and were you guys in the audience that day?
No, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was like doing tongue twisters and I said like the only way that I can describe hosting the whiskey tasting on the Hallmark cruise was it was like pulling my pants down slowly in front of 200 people. Like it was so intense. I got drunk by accident, but there was no other way around it. Like we had to be drinking all this alcohol. Anyway, and then, we did this like very silly like improv game, which is essentially like a herald where Julie Sherman Wolfe read a like I think it was like a horror Christmas movie.
Uh-huh. We were in the audience for that.
You were spectacular.
You were so
in
fun.
that.
Thank you. But that was me performing as authentically me, the way that I perform normally in my primetime actress life. I was not like, that's me. That's how I work. But normally my Hallmark stuff, it feels like a day job. And that's no longer the case. I also got to host a couple or like go and do some meet and greets for, before they aired Jingle Bell Run. And suddenly like I was doing 15 minutes of stand up in front of, all like 500 people and completely at ease because I feel like I'm able to be me. And that means like, I'm going to make jokes about how, like, I'm in perimenopause and I should have worn a sports bra when I was shooting Jingle Bell Run because my boobs ached from all the running. And by the way, like, wish I hadn't chosen ankle boots and skinny jeans for that movie because I'm running the entire time. And also the fact that Andrew Walker is such a good kisser. And I say this in front of my husband, like, holy cow, that kid is so dreamy. And I have the best job in the entire world that I get to kiss all these Canadian men.
Oh my gosh. Can we talk about Jingle Bell Run for a minute?
Yeah.
So we saw that on the cruise. It was our premiere movie on the cruise. You were busy. So we weren't in one of the ones where you got to come out and like.
I'm sorry.
It's
no, I think you guys were doing like photo
or
ops.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's okay. We loved that movie.
Good.
It was one of our top movies of the entire year.
Seriously, you guys?
100%.
For real. Yes.
I think it's important to say, like, when we watched that movie, it was November 6th. We were in a really weird headspace. We cried at breakfast. We're like, we just need to go watch a Hallmark movie. That's all we wanted out of that moment. First of all, I cried at 3 separate points during the premiere, and I was like, this movie was amazing.
It was amazing.
But then we come home and we watch it on TV, on our couch, no live audience. It's me and my husband. I'm like, hey, this movie holds up. Like, this is
really? That's
good. So
It's a great movie. I'm telling you, and I tell this to Megan all the time, the scene where you're running and you find the bell and it's shot in like slow motion, I bawled my eyes out. Look, I'm a former Hallmark hater. There was something about this scene. I was like, yes, she found it. She did it. Women can do everything. It was awesome. It was so freaking awesome. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And
wow, that's so nice.
in addition, the slow dance between you and Andrew Walker in that movie is so,
It's so hot.
freaking hot.
And the dip, I'm going to dip you now. I was like, that whole thing is so
If You Now was not scripted. That was him being like, Ashley, it's coming. I'm like, oh God! You know?
It's so good. It is so good.
that and the almost kiss. And then I'm going to go to bed. Oh my God. I could quote the whole movie. It's like me and my best friend's wedding. It's so good. It just hits. It's funny and it made me cry and it's sexy. It's so good. So
Yes, can I tell you a funny story about
Please.
about that scene? Because we had shot out of order. Okay, so the almost kiss, we shot after he had done the scene afterwards with the guy talking about like the fake, like how he was faking the blah blah blah. So he was not wearing a Santa hat when he shot the scene with the producer guy. But when he was giving out the presents, he was wearing a Santa hat, right? And Andrew realized this and was like, you need to take the Santa hat off of me at some point during this scene. I have to lose it because I'm not wearing it the next time the audience sees me. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And I pitch him a couple of like funny ways, you know, for like I think his line is something like, we make a good team. And I say something like, well, this isn't a part of that uniform or something like that. And I was like, it could be like some joke like that. And he goes, no. Yes. He goes, no. You know what you're going to do? You're going to just come up like for the almost kiss and you're just going to like rip it off my head in a really sexy way. Now, side note, I've said this before. Andrew Walker, one of my best friends. Andrew Walker and Neil, my husband, are best friends. Cassandra, his wife, one of my best friends, are children, best friends. They love it. Right? I've been friends with Andrew for 100 years. I love him so much. And when he said this to me, I was literally like, Andrew, I am not a person who can like sexily rip off a hat. Like, that's not my brand of sexy. Like my brand of sexy is a little bit more like comical and vulnerable, and you know, I make it self-deprecate. Like I don't know how to be sexy like that. And he goes, Ashley, he's like, I know you can do this. He's like, just come up to me and just rip it off my head. And I was like, okay. Right? So,
You're like this in the background, like hyping yourself.
and I was like, oh my God, okay, I don't want to think about it. I'm not gonna think about it. I'm just gonna like go in there and I'm just gonna like rip it off his head in a sexy way, right? Like, don't ever think it, Ashley. And they're like, action. And he goes, we make a good team. And I go, and this isn't a part of our uniform. And I took his hat off.
Oh my gosh.
I have no idea how to do this. It's just like, that's not how I do sexy. It's just not, I don't know how.
So funny.
Caught up in the mud. I don't know how to do that, you know? Anyway, I just thought it was so funny because for him, it was such a normal thing. Like, just rip it off. Like, you can't even handle how attracted you are to me. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I have no idea how to do that.
Oh, I love it.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Lucy Guest was the director on that movie. Was that the first time working with her?
That was my first time working with her.
We like her a lot.
Yeah, she had a big year.
You guys did you have her on the show?
Not
No,
yet. But I think she's working on
love
something
her.
right now.
I'm sure she works constantly. You would love her.
Yeah,
Yeah, we would love to.
That was so watching that. I'm telling you, you don't understand. Like, I loved that movie so much, and it's just such a core memory for me now, being able to have seen it on the cruise that you were on. It was just like, it's just such good.
Yeah, I think you're right about those fan experiences really do something to build the fandom. That sounds so stupid. Obviously they do, but like us having seen like you and your fellow Hallmark stars, like they're having these kind of human moments makes us feel connected to you guys in a different way. I'm like, oh, I can appreciate this person on screen in a different way after watching Brendan Penny be like all in on the Festive Feud game, right? I'm like,
Totally.
it does something. I think there's a real benefit to it. And I think we've made a Hallmark podcast for 5 years. And I think until being on that cruise, which is our first Hallmark fan event, I don't know that we realized quite the level of dedicated fandom that existed.
Yeah. Well, it's a really specific kind of, it's a little bit like Comic-Con-y.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of, it's very specific. And like, we're not parading around like Angelina Jolie. Like, I'm not Julia Roberts. But what I am now, and what I've sort of learned about who I am for a Hallmark audience, is I represent you. So it's like, I am scared. I am looking for love all the time. I am a little bit, confused about how fancy I'm supposed to be. Does my hair look okay? Is this dress too weird? Like, I am every man, every woman, and for the women, I represent you. So Ryan Pavey comes in with his shirt off. That was not scripted. I was like, oh my God, you're not wearing a shirt.
We love that movie too, by the way.
Yeah, that's a great movie too.
That was a good movie, right? But that's being able to be authentic to who I am makes you able to see yourself, because the truth is we're all fighting the same war together, and it's being a woman is so complicated. Being in love is so complicated. Making a plan for your life, figuring out who you are, it's hard, it's scary, it's vulnerable. And that's what, if I can tap into how it feels to be you, then I can play these characters authentically. And then you can see yourself, and then we can hug at a fan event.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of your resume, the sister swap movies you did with your sister, the two-parter kind of was so different for Hallmark that year when it came out. Do you have any desire to do another movie with your sister?
I do. And we have one that we're working on. Yeah, that's all I'll say. It's written. I am obsessed with it. I love it. And we're working on it.
Fab.
IMDb lists a bunch of stuff like in production for you. Like there's like an untitled Ashley Williams, Kimberly Sustad project.
I have 16 projects in development.
Oh my gosh. There's an untitled Jonathan Bennett project with you.
There sure is.
Oh my goodness.
I'm hoping we shoot that one this year.
Yay! The internet rumors are correct. This is exciting.
Yeah, it's
Very
good.
exciting.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I really love being able to produce for Hallmark. It's a miracle. Like I had this random idea one day. I can come back and talk about it once this movie airs, but I had this random idea one day in an airport. Ran into Julie Sherman Wolfe that night at a party, pitched it to her. 2 days later, Hallmark bought it, and I'm leaving in 2 weeks to go shoot it. Like, it's a miracle.
Oh, we need to have you two on together.
Yeah, you and Julie both. Julie was our very first guest.
She was the first interview we ever did. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love her so much. We have a couple projects with her.
Oh my God,
I'm writing it down so I don't forget.
Okay,
so we're going to
so-
circle back to that when we can.
Okay, so I know there's a lot you can't tell us about. Is there anything you can tell our listeners what to look for you, or just go watch Small Town Setup?
I think go watch Small Town Setup. Also, it's really exciting. I mean, Hallmark Plus, it's, I think it's something to get used to. A streaming service for Hallmark is complicated, but so is Netflix in the beginning. I would encourage people to go towards that because everything is available on there now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have got favorites, it's not hard to find them anymore. And that's exciting for me. So much of the time, people are like, "Oh, my parents saw you in a Hallmark movie, but now they can't find it." And I'm like, "Yeah, you got to just wait for a re-airing," and that's not the case anymore. You can go have an Ashley Williams festival, and I'll call in,
You're so cute.
drunk in my pajamas on the bottom bunk. So I think embracing the streaming service, I think this is the future for Hallmark. I'm really excited about it. And I think it's going to take us a little while to get used to. Like, my Aunt Diana's very confused.
No, there's no lie here. We have a Facebook group and it's always questions like, "Well, how do I get Hallmark Plus? Where do I find this movie?" And we're always like, "Okay, this is how, let me, here's the step down."
I don't understand why it's here and not there.
Yeah, my aunt doesn't have a computer, or she does, but she doesn't know how to open it or something. And she's like, "I want to watch your movies on the phone." So I sent her a 1-year subscription to Hallmark Plus, and she's like, "I can't enter it on the phone because information's on the phone." And you know what I mean? It's like,
Oh,
you have to write down the code on a piece of paper and then enter it. And she's like, "Well, it's asking me to add my credit card." I'm like, "Where's your credit card?" She's like, "Downstairs." I'm like, "I'll call you in a couple hours."
Oh my goodness.
It's complicated in the beginning,
Yeah.
and once we get our sea legs, this is the future. This is how you're going to be able to be watching Hallmark movies all day.
yeah, and they're commercial free. Join the wave of the future, man. I'm like, I want to wait and watch it because now I don't have to watch it with commercials on cable.
100%. Yeah.
Watch it the next day. Yeah.
Watch it the next day. Mhm.
And there's a ton of like exclusive stuff. I mean, we rode so hard for finding Mr. Christmas. Like, if you missed that, go back and watch it because the reality wave of the future is happening on Hallmark Plus.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And I'd love to do another season of Small Town Setup. I had the best time shooting that.
Think you would do a different location, like new small town? I mean, I know it was different towns, but like all in Georgia.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I ultimately, frankly, that's probably mostly about like tax credit
Sure.
and brand wise, frankly. So that's a little bit above my pay grade. But I loved shooting in Georgia. Like, they were so wonderful, so kind. The crew is incredible. So I would do that again in a heartbeat. And then I want to shoot this Jonathan Bennett movie this year, and I've got another movie that I'm writing that hasn't been announced yet that I want to shoot this summer. So
Hey.
Man, you got a lot going on.
I do have a lot going on. I'm so tired.
I
Not enough coffee, girls. Anyway, thank you for having me on your show.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much for
much.
doing this. Thank you for listening to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Bramble Jam podcast. If you love this podcast, we love your 5-star ratings and reviews. You can leave them in the Apple Podcast app. We'll see you next time. Bye. Bye. All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.